And welcome everyone to Films with the Women in My Life. My name is Brennan, and joining me tonight are Jess.
Hey guys.
And my girlfriend Nicole.
Hello everybody.
And tonight we will be reviewing Us, the new horror thriller comedy, kind of, by Jordan Peele. I think many people will know him from the show Key and Peele on Comedy Central. He was originally on Mad TV. That's what I know him from. I guess that's kind of where he got to start in the early 2000s. But this is his second directorial film. He did the 2017 film Get Out, which he actually won an Academy Award for screenplay. But yeah, he's the writer, director, and producer of this movie. Have you guys, either of you, seen Get Out, or do you know Jordan Peele from anything else?
No, I haven't seen Get Out.
I was going to say, in true Nicole fashion, I have not seen Get Out either. I've heard the hype about it.
One of these days, I will not be the only person to have seen the prior works of the person we direct.
What kind of podcast is this? We're not looking at any of the movies.
Well, you know, again, it's a more outsider perspective. I'm the only one who has, you know, a more extensive background. It's a new take. It's a fresh take.
I like to think of it as ignorance is bliss.
Yes, that's a very good way to put it. I'm not holding this movie up against his past movie. This is I can just say this seems like a standalone, so I feel pretty good about this one. But I know Jordan Peele from East West Bowl from Key and Peele.
Oh yeah, that is a fantastic little skit they have there where they do the talking heads of collegiate football players, and him and Keegan-Michael Key, they all have.
You love that one.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's probably their best skit. I mean, I'm sure there's people know A.A. Ron. People love that one.
Oh yeah.
But
I know A.A. Ron.
Yeah, that's from Key and Peele. So that's Keegan-Michael Key, his longtime collaborator for most of the comedic stuff. But no, he's branched out on his own and to become kind of a horror maestro, a new age horror guy. And he actually will be hosting the revival of The Twilight Zone, which is an old TV show that I love. I'm assuming
I think that this movie gives you
that's the one.
This movie definitely gives you a good idea of what to be expecting for that. That you should get a good hype from that.
Yeah, knowing this definitely feels like a Twilight Zone or a Black Mirror episode. If anyone's ever seen that, it's kind of a modern day Twilight Zone. It's an anthology series that is all like horror, but having to do with modern technology. That's on Netflix for anyone who's interested in that. But this and also Get Out to me feel very like long Twilight Zone or long Black Mirror episodes. They have that feel to them, where it has like a kind of an interesting plot that has a lot of twists to it that are relevant as far as their commentary on today's society. So
absolutely, definitely modern. So and spooky.
Oh yeah, it's and funny. I like that he balances the humor with the horror, and it's just good storytelling. It's not like cheap pop out scares like some of the other movies we review that I don't love, and but it's not overly comedic to the point where it distracts. It's a good balance, and I think he's a good storyteller.
Yeah, he's got a good future ahead of him if he continues on his personal take of how he's portraying movies, for sure.
Critically, this is already doing well, and it's already made back its box office or its budget tenfold, or not tenfold, for like fivefold. It'll be a big success, and I'm sure he'll get greenlit for another movie. But before we go into spoilers, because this is a very, very, like, there's a lot of stuff in here, and if you haven't seen it, I would definitely recommend seeing it while it's in theaters. There's just a lot of stuff in here that if you listen to this first, you don't want to go in spoiled. There's just too much to talk about. So I'll read the synopsis, and then we'll go into our ratings. So this story is... Well, here, I'll just read this off here. In order to get away from their busy lives, the Wilson family takes a vacation to Santa Cruz, California, with the plan of spending time with their friends, the Tyler family. On a day at the beach, their young son, Jason, almost wanders off, causing his mother, Adelaide, and that's played by
Lupita
Nyong'o. She's the protagonist, causing her mother Adelaide to become protective of her family. And that night, 4 mysterious people break into Adelaide's childhood home where they're staying. The family is shocked to find out that the intruders look and talk like them, only with grotesque appearances. And I think that synopsis is like 80% correct.
That's fine. That gives you a wondering more type of feeling.
Yeah, so we're about to go into our ratings here and spoilers. So last warning: if you haven't seen it, please go ahead and check it out. So we rate things here on 4 different criteria: the plot, the characters, the visual and sound, and the overall resonance and feel of the film. So I'll start with Nicole tonight. Nicole, what did you think of the overall plot of this movie?
Okay, I gave this plot a 4. This movie was really good. I really liked this movie a lot. Took a really unique twist on the idea of a clone or alternate universe, if you want to say that, which you dive into later in the storyline. I totally got a Stranger Things vibe from this, which plays back into the Black Mirror for me. It's that type of upside down underground world that mimics real life. So it's so cool. You could certainly tell there was something off with that family. With the scene that you first are introduced to the family. They're standing in the driveway all creepy. It's fucking weird. But I really liked that. It just really set the tone for how this movie was going to go. And I really liked Lupita Nyong'o the best in this movie. She did a great job as the main character. When she finally starts to realize what's happening in her world, it's really good. I really like that.
Yeah, and I think we'll definitely talk about Lupita Nyong'o's dual role in this movie a little bit later, and I think she's a very strong part of this movie. Jess, what did you think of the plot though overall?
No, I thought it was great. I agree with Nicole. I gave it a 4 as well. So I love scary movies in general, and this isn't your typical scary movie because it is a little bit funny, but not funny enough where you wouldn't never say it was a comedy completely, but it, like we said before, it was a good balance. And what I liked about it is it wasn't predictable like most scary movies are, and you don't hate the characters.
We'll debate that, but
you don't think they're dumb, and you don't think like their actions are really like predictable. You actually admire them, and I thought like, wow, I would actually do that if I was in her situation, or I wouldn't be as brave to do that, but that's a good idea. So it has a different feel to a scary movie than most scary movies usually have.
Yeah, it's definitely not like a dumb, like, oh, don't go in there, don't do that kind of thing. I think, a good percentage of their actions make sense, and by the end of it, and the ones that don't, I think by the end, most of them are resolved with the twist on twist ending. So I'm going to agree with you guys. I think we're all across the board. We're all giving this a 4. It's a really good premise, and it's executed really well. There's some problems I have later with some of the overarching ways it's all done, but that's more of like a nitpicky kind of thing as far as like overall plot structure. As far as the way the plot's told, like we follow this family going on vacation, and that part of it all works really well, and their doppelgangers I think are really well portrayed by the same actors. I think that's a really important thing, is that it's Lupita Nyong'o, Winston Duke is the dad. Not in a whole lot yet. People might know him from Black Panther. He was M'Baku. He was the leader of like the opposition tribe in Wakanda. But other than that, he hasn't been a whole lot yet. And then the kids
so him and Lupita worked together before.
Yeah, I guess they did. I mean, I don't think they were in too many scenes together, but yeah, they were. They're contemporaries. They've both been in a film together. And the kids, I think, are relative unknowns. Shadiah Bright Joseph and Evan Alex are the daughter and son respectively. Zora and Jason. And I think the 4 of them portray their doppelgangers just as well. And I guess before I want to tell you more about the plot, since we've already talked about the characters a little bit, I kind of want to just get that out of the way. Jess, what did you think of the characters in this movie?
So I gave the characters a 4/5. I really like the characters. I probably would say I've loved Lupita from the beginning. So I saw 50 Years a Slave, and that's when I first fell in love with her.
12 Years a Slave.
Why did I say 15? Okay,
That's a lot of
that is
years.
a long
She's
time to
she's
be
not
a
like an
slave.
80-year-old woman at the end of the movie. But,
All right,
Oh my god.
12 years a slave. I saw that, and that's when I really
500
started
years
liking
a
her.
slave.
Forever a slave. No, but I actually think Gabe was my favorite character. He was your typical corny dad with the corny dad jokes, but you still had to love him, and he was so confident. And then again, it's everyone and then everyone's shadow. So it's kind of everyone twice. Lupita's shadow probably was the most prominent one and the most mind-boggling. And yeah, so I love the characters. The only characters you don't like are their friends, and that's just because you're made not to like them. They're just like the annoying friends that you vacation friends that you have. But it's not like they played them wrong. They're just they're just characters that you don't really appeal to.
Yeah, they're characters you don't like, and for those who don't know, they have a friend family the parents are played by Elizabeth Moss, who people will know. She's Peggy from Mad Men, and she's also the lead in what's that?
Handmaid's Tale.
Handmaid's Tale, yeah. So those are her big like series roles. She's been in some other movies too, but I think that's what most people will know her from. And her husband's played by Tim Heidecker, who is one half of the Tim and Eric comedy team. They have a kind of an absurdist comedy show. It's not my taste, but it's interesting. They're very over the top and abstract and also gross out. They're an interesting duo. And then they have twin daughters who I don't know these actresses at all, but they play Russell and Rain. And yeah, that's like
shut up.
That's the
Those
name.
are perfect names for the characters that they play.
Yeah, Rayne, of course. But before those are your 8 principals. You don't see the other family as much, but yeah, Nicole, what did you think of the characters in this movie?
I also gave this a 4 for characters. I actually disagree with Jess on the dad. I don't like goofy, humorous dads. I think that's so overdone, overplayed. I just can't stand when they're stupid and like, do like a doofy thing. That's not my thing. But he did it well. I'm not gonna knock his performance. It's just that personality. It doesn't appeal to my taste. But I totally agree. Lupita stole the show for both of her characters. I haven't seen her portray characters like this. She was really intense, really good at what she was doing. I felt her emotion. She was freaky in the best way possible. I loved the family friends that they had because
I hate
they're
them.
so pretentious. And Elizabeth Moss played this like bougie wife, trophy wife so well. For a split second, I couldn't remember who she was because that's not the person I see her as. She did a great job of her role. But when the 4 main characters are playing their clone selves or whatever, they're so good. They're so creepy. It really brought that movie together. I really like the characters as well.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys. It sounds like we're all liking everything so far here. I'm also giving it a 4. I'm siding with Jess in that I like Gabe. I like Winston Duke's character a lot. I like the goofy dad. I definitely audibly laughed at several of his jokes. Some of the good ones are given away in the really, really good trailer for this movie, which spoils some things, but for the most part, it's just a really good trailer. Lupita Nyong'o absolutely steals the show. Her and her double characters, I mean, those 2 characters, I guess, are the most interesting, well-developed, 3-dimensional characters in the movie. I also really like Elizabeth Moss's dry, uncaring, disenchanted.
Oh, she's a bitch.
Yeah, so like I guess your three principal like big name actors are all hitting it home here. The kids are good. I think the son's a more well-developed.
I don't like the kids.
I think the son's a more well-developed character than the daughter. The son has some interesting moments, which we'll get to later. The daughter, less so, but she does fine. And the rest of Elizabeth Moss's family, Tim Heidecker and the two twins, I mean, they're just kind of stock characters.
Yeah, airheads.
They're just there to be annoying and irritating. Which I mean, I guess they do correctly, but not a whole lot of development there. But before we rate anything else, I'll start to go through some of the points of this movie. We start out not in modern day, which is when this movie takes place, but in 1986. And you get like a close up on this television where a Hands Across America commercial is playing. I don't know if anyone remembers that. I don't, because I was not alive. But it was a campaign to help starving children. And the idea was everyone would hold hands across America, as it sounds, and donate X amount of dollars to a charity to help the starving people. So we start with that commercial. We cut to Adelaide's family. She's a young girl, probably like 8, something like that, with her parents at a festival, like a peer festival, also at the same place that the family will go to later in Santa Cruz. She gets separated from them. She runs into like a homeless guy who has a part later in the movie, who's got this 1111 sign that he wears around his neck, kind of like a John 3:16 kind of thing, but it's 1111.
Did you look up what that meant? Because I meant to and I didn't.
I did not. I am not sure what that meant. I have there's some theories that we can get to towards the end, but I don't know what the significance is offhand. But the little girl character who later becomes Lupita Nyong'o, she gets lost in this house of mirrors. We see that she's run into a doppelganger of her age, because it's this really good scene where she's like looking in the mirror, but the mirror is not looking at her; it's the back of her head. And I think they showed this in the trailer, so I thought it was going to be some scary jump thing, and they don't. They cut away, and we cut to modern day, and this is where we're introduced to their whole family. And yeah, what's to do? Goofy dad, Lupita Nyong'o, kind of annoyed wife, apprehensive about going to this place because of her past there. And then the 2 kids kind of, disinterested, whatever. I guess some character points. The daughter is always listening to her music, and she's on her phone all the time. And the kid is always playing with this lighter, which he wants to do like this magic trick he's never able to do. He's always flicking this lighter. He's like, "Oh, I have a magic trick. I did it last summer, but it doesn't really work now for whatever reason."
The sister is like oddly encouraging of him. Like my younger sister, I would just be like, "Stop with that shit. Like you're annoying me." But she was like, "You go, boy. Like good for her."
Is that how you felt? I felt like she was egging him on, like knowing that it wouldn't work because. And we kind of get the scene later where he jumps out of a cabinet and scares her as like, kind of like that classic, oh, you think it's a horror movie scare, but it's just the stupid characters running around. And then he runs into this closet that gets locked from the outside. The son does. He gets locked in this closet, but he wedges a little like little race car kind of thing in the door. And she kicks it away. And
yeah, there's definitely
it's that kind of
banter,
like.
But
I think she was just happy that he had his own toy and not bothering her.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that's definitely part of it. It's good sibling banter, and I think all the characters at this point our 4 principals are well fleshed out. They meet Elizabeth Moss's horribly pretentious family, and the son once they're on the beach, they're all hanging out. The son wanders away and sees. I went to the bathroom at this part, but Jess, you told me about it. She sees the homeless guy. Is that correct?
Yeah. He's aged like the amount of time that this has progressed to modern day. So he's like an old dude now, and they show him holding the sign, and I think it's his right hand. His fingers are cut off like a little bit, and he's bleeding.
Yeah.
Even though when they drove into town, we saw that same homeless guy that she had seen years prior was in a ambulance, getting taken away, presumably dead. He looked dead.
Yeah, she knew exactly who he was. Obviously, the family didn't, but then just for the kid to see him, like, it was only hours later, and the kid sees him standing there. So
yeah, and then Jason actually draws a picture of it, and then that's when Lupita definitely links the 2 together.
So yeah, the picture. Let me ask you guys this: at this point in the movie, do you have any idea what's coming at all? Is the doppelganger thing? I think because the first, I guess, technical doppelganger we see, other than the flashback with the little girl, is the homeless guy. And what did you guys think about like this as far as the foreshadowing for the rest of the movie?
I'm kind of left in the dark still of the grand scheme of things, but She obviously knows something freaky's going on, but she doesn't want to scare her family, so I can see why she hasn't said anything. Her husband doesn't even know that she was lost as a child. Like, she has to bring that up while they're on this vacation, that she got lost on that beach. That's why she's been so apprehensive about going. So I didn't see the big twist that we'll discuss, but she obviously knows something's going on.
Yeah, at this
You can
point, I
tell.
thought the movie was about mirrors, or something scary about mirrors. So when the guy showed up again right before she went into the mirror room, I was like, okay, so they're gonna see each other's reflections or some crazy house, or I don't know. At that point, I thought mirrors was a huge thing, which I guess it kind of is because it's a dark reflection of yourself. But I didn't think it was her whole doppelganger. I thought it was just. Actually, I didn't know too much. I don't really. I think
That's
it was.
a good no. That's a good idea. I didn't even think of that myself. That you can get that from that for sure.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and say right here, right at like this point here. Well, I guess not quite. I'll tell you the point where I stake my claim at what I think the twist is gonna be. So we see the four figures in the dark the same night when they come back from the beach. The family comes back from the beach, they go home, and there's these four figures outside. Winston Duke's Gabe character does a bunch of shenanigans where he's like, "I got a bet, you guys better get out of here. Like I'm a big tough guy. Watch out." Even though we know he's just an idiot dork who bought a crappy boat that's motor only works half the time to impress his family, which comes into play. But the family and the Shadow family. Like it looks like the mom is clearly in control, Lupita Nyong'o's Shadow, and she like disperses them, and they all run in the bushes, and they kind of slowly make their way through the house. Winston Duke's double, whose name is Abraham, breaks his leg with a bat, like, or his ankle, like basically makes it so he has to limp the rest of the movie, so he's kind of incapacitated. And then the children's duos break in, and Lupita Nyong'o's duo, whose name is Red, also comes in kind of behind as clearly the leader at this point, and orders Lupita Nyong'o's main character Adelaide to be handcuffed to the table in their den, and all 8 of them are sitting around now kind of looking at each other, and it's intense and like weird, and you don't really know what's going on here. And then Lupita Nyong'o's shadow character Red, she speaks, which none of them have done yet, and she's got this, I'm gonna say it freaked me out. It's a terrifying, raspy, like monster creepy voice. I mean,
it sounds like she hasn't drank water in like a year.
Which is possible.
Yeah.
What we learn later, it's possible that that's the case. But I mean, after so much, I mean, I'm gonna say this first half hour feels a lot of comedy, especially because of Winston Duke's Gabe character. There's a lot of comedy. Elizabeth Moss is funny early on. And I think that if it wasn't done so well, this could come off as cheesy and dumb, but for me, it doesn't. For me, it's effective. For me, she is like the Lupita Nyong'o shadow character is menacing.
It's totally spooky. It really is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It is.
And we weren't expecting them to talk either. I thought they were going to be silent the whole time.
Actually, she's the only one that talks.
And that
The
is
others
yeah,
grunt.
true.
that right there is what tips me off to what I think. And I think I was Jess. I think I was nudging you early on. I was like, I know the twist. Like right here, I was like, I know what's going to be the last thing coming, and we'll get to that at the end. But basically, Lupita Nyong'o's character is like shadow character is directing all of her shadow people to take all of their doppelgangers, like their regular people, and do, just have like one-on-ones with them. The 2 little boys go in the closet that he gets locked in to play with their lighters. The little shadow girl's like a sociopath and like chases after the regular girl and just like fucking like stalks her with his wide bug eyes that are terrifying. Winston Duke's shadow character is like dragging him around to the boat.
He's like a caveman.
He's a caveman. He's grunting and he's just dragging, and he's got the bat, and so
I thought it was Malcolm Jamal Warner from The Cosby Show, because he's in a show right now. He looks exactly like that. I thought it was him.
He does look kind of like the guy from, what is that show, The Resident?
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks kind of similar to him. So all of our protagonists split off with their shadow characters. It results in Gabe actually being the first one to somehow kill one. I don't know how he did, but he was the one. He kills his shadow character Abraham, getting in a fight with him on their crappy boat in the lake. He pushes him into like the jet, or not the jet, the propeller or whatever, and that chops him up. So you got one shadow guy down, 3 family members to go. The other 2 have like kind of meaningless chases. The end is
I'm sorry, I know we're not getting into like theories yet, but you have to think about, after you watch these couple scenes of the different characters trying to attack the other characters, the dad's character, the shadow, was the only one going hard, like to try to kill him. Did you notice that? Like the son and the daughter, like they were being followed or being harassed, but they weren't trying to kill him like the dad's was.
I would definitely say the son's shadow character is not fighting him. The daughter one, I think she might
She's
just be
spooking her.
Yeah,
like,
but I think if she had caught up to her, she would have killed her. I think that's just her style. The son, I would 100% agree with you, because the son and the shadow son, who we haven't mentioned, he wears this creepy white like Slipknot mask the whole time, and he's got this completely burned mouth, and it's really freaky. And I have a theory about that later, but like it's at body deformity stuff freaks me out, and that really that was effective for me. But yeah, that's definitely a good point to remember, is that Winston Duke's shadow character is definitely the most aggressive. But we get to the point where they all get into the little crappy boat that Gabe had bought, and they get away for a while, and they're heading across the pond, and we don't know where, until we cut to Elizabeth Moss and Tim Heidecker's cabin, and they're being bitchy and annoying with each other, and I did not see this coming at all. I had no idea this was going to happen. But they have doppelgangers too, and they show up immediately.
Yeah.
Yes.
And kill the fuck out of all of them. They kill all of them. They kill both the parents, and they kill both the twins immediately.
Instantly. I thought Lupita's family were the only family with the shadows, but then you realize that everyone has a shadow.
Right. This is where I'm like, oh, the whole time I thought it was just going to be this family's shadows because of Lupita's run-in with the shadow person when she was a kid. So I was like, okay, her family has shadows. But no, you learn right here that it's not just them. It's a lot of people, and it's an effective scene. And what's, another thing to think about here is these shadow people kill their doppelgangers instantly. And they all wear these red jumpsuits, and they wield these gold creepy scissors, and that's like their weapon. And yeah, it's effective here, I think.
I wonder why.
Yeah, I wonder why. I mean, we'll get to that probably a little bit further. I know we're dancing around it for people who have seen it, but we just want to, we're playing out the experience as it goes through. We get to, so they show up to the house. Not too much detail. We don't have to go into it. There's a scuffle, obviously. Somehow none of Lupita Nyong'o's family dies. They all are able to take out the doppelgangers. The sister takes out the twins, mostly.
And they're all very easily maneuvering around this house after the one's been smacked with a baseball bat, one's been handcuffed and trampled on. The door's been running for 3 hours. This is a strong-ass family.
Yeah.
It's a resilient family. I'll give you that. But basically the Lupita Nyong'o's family kills the doppelganger family, but they also see that the original family is dead. So they realize that this is the doppelganger family, and something's going on beyond just their family. We get a weird news cut while they're kind of recovering and recuperating at the house. That this has been happening all over the area, all over Santa Cruz, and morning comes, and
I know you missed this part. In the news footage, they show the carnage that's happening, and in the background, there's people in red jumpsuits holding hands across the screen.
Okay, so right here we already get an indication that there's some sort of...
You feel like it's cult-like.
Yeah,
if you aren't paying attention. If you're not paying attention, you definitely feel it's just maybe a cult or something like that.
In my mind, I was like, this is The Purge. This movie is basically The Purge.
This is The Purge. So yeah, no, that's a good. I mean, that's an important point to stick out there, definitely, because when when morning breaks and their family gets to the town. Oh no, I'm skipping one part because they killed the little girl doppelganger who had followed them to the house, and she the daughter gets behind the wheel of the car because Lupita Nyong'o's handcuffed.
This is important.
This is important. Lupita Nyong'o's. Why don't you tell Nicole? I think you could tell it a little bit better.
Okay, so they're trying to escape from this property where they just saw their friends dead and they just killed all the doppelgangers. And they see the Lupita's daughter's doppelganger standing in the street, so they're like, oh shit, we got to do something. So they run. The dad's like reverse, and the little girl's driving. She's like, oh hell no. She floors it into the little girl. So she's like holding on to the car for dear life, and somehow she flings her off after braking and all that stuff. So the doppelganger goes flying into the trees, and they all just want to book it, but Lupita's like, no, I'm gonna get out. So she gets out and she walks into the trees where the doppelganger is hanging, and it's a very peaceful moment, very awkwardly, creepily peaceful, and the doppelganger is just lightly laughing and giggling as she's dying, and this is the perfect opportunity for Lupita to just stab her and go, but she just stares at her and she just walks away. There's no damage done, even though this little doppelganger has been like threatening to kill her daughter all night. She just leaves it. So it's really creepy.
It's another indicator for, I think a lot of people already know, the twist to come.
Yeah, and it's not what you expect because there have been so much death and stabbing and blood since then. So you're just like, okay, I'm just going to finish the job. But she doesn't. She just looks at her.
Right. It's different from all the other carnage. And it's another interesting, like, why did their doppelganger family not immediately kill all of them? Kind of toyed with them a little bit while every other doppelganger family has been just
and at this point,
efficiently taken out.
At this point, Lupita seems like a really caring, wonderful mother. And then in this scene, you can kind of think to yourself, why wouldn't you put this girl out of your life after she's just caused your daughter so much distress? Like, that gave you a different sense of her character there.
I mean, I guess if I were in her case, I would probably want the other thing to suffer too, but that's just me, and that's,
There was it wasn't suffering though. Like, there was no suffering there. Like, she just gave her that feeling of letting her go on her own. Like, it wasn't suffering.
Yeah, I think that's probably the resolution we get to. I can understand it from the other perspective earlier on, but yeah, so we're down to two main doppelgangers. We've got, and we haven't said his name. Pluto is the name of the doppelganger son, and he runs around like a little spider monkey. He freaks people out. Like, he runs on his like hands, and he runs on his like all fours and like crawls around. And when day breaks and they reach the beach again, there's dead bodies everywhere. It's pretty much abandoned. The only thing that people see is this giant wall of people in red jumpsuits holding hands. These are the other doppelgangers, presumably. And I don't know I think on the news they might have called them, they're referred to as the tethered. These doppelgangers are the tethered is the term they use for them. So they drive down there. They hear some fiddling with their car once they're near the boardwalk or the beach area, and the freaking little Pluto creature guy just jumps out, and the car's in front of them, like, explodes, and he's got his little lighter. And this is where the son does something really clever to take out his doppelganger. He raises his arms out and walks slowly backwards, and as he does so, scene. The doppelganger also holds his arms out and walks slowly backwards and
into the flames.
And the doppelganger walks into the flames and is burned alive. And that's a good way to like wrap that thing up. It's like the son is figuring out how it works.
Right. Yeah, he obviously knows exactly what's happening right now. So that was going his part to take action.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed with Jason because he hasn't seemed like he was the most clever boy. And then the fact that he thought of this plan as all this was happening, I was like, wow, good job.
Yeah,
Kudos to you.
definitely.
I think of the family, other than Lupita Nyong'o, Jason clearly understands what's going on the most, and I think from the beginning when he has his weird one-on-one with his doppelganger and they're lighting the lighter and in the closet and they're having their one-on-one time, I think he understands more than the dad or the sister, like what exactly the relationship to these people are. That it's not just like, oh, these are these weird clones and they're trying to kill us, we got to get rid of them. It's like it's a more deep connection than that.
Yeah, and you see that by the end that's obvious. That's what happened. He's the one that understands the full extent after we get into what happened.
And I think before we get to the end here, I think this is a pretty interesting visual movie, and the music that's used is pretty effective. Nicole, what did you give the visual and sound for this movie?
I gave this movie for visual and sound a 5 out of 5. This,
Wow, your first 5, isn't it?
yeah, this is my first 5 for anything. The music was so perfect and freaky and quirky, and just the little quirky moments during the movie, it made it shine. Like I was feeling like tingles on my arms, like when it was like little stuff like that. It was just really freaky. In the beginning, the first time that we see young Lupita in the funhouse, that was my favorite scene. I felt completely lost in that funhouse with her with the mirrors. There was not a camera in sight, like in all these mirrors. I think that is so impressive. Like,
We have the modern
I know,
advancements
but
and-
I know, but I'm just really impressed with it. Like, I just thought it was really cool. It made me feel like that's why it made me feel like I was in there with her. Like it was just shot so beautifully. The beach scenes were beautiful. It's 5 out of 5.
What do you think, Jess?
I think me and Nicole might have the same ratings for the whole movie so far because I also gave it my first 5 too.
Wow,
so
you guys loving the look and sound of this movie.
Yeah, I think we did have the same ratings. So the sound was my favorite part, and I think I knew it was gonna be really good when Lupita first started talking, and just like how we said before, the crackling, ghosty, thirsty voice of her shadow. That was really
yeah.
unique and blown away, because when you hear like just any other monster talking, it's just grunty, but this was so specific, and I'm sure they spent so much time and effort trying to make her
Oh
voice
yeah.
sound the way it does, and it does give like that ghostly goosebump feel to it, so that's why I gave it a 5. And
it's
as well
definitely
as
another credit to her acting there is that she can play this like creepy creature lady at the same time as playing a fairly normal mom. I think it's definitely a test.
exactly. Yeah, and I was gonna say something else too.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's the tip of my tongue. But and the music too. So you can tell it was orchestrated exactly to the movement of the movie. I love all the instruments and the theme of the music. It all went really well with the way that the movie was portraying, and also the movements. I don't know if this is included in this category, but when you see
I would say so.
The sound, the shadows downstairs, and they're all moving in line with everyone normal on Earth. It's just the way that they move is just so Frankenstein-y, but not like the modern. I don't know how to explain it, but the movements of all that was pretty cool too.
Yeah, I mean that's what gave me that kind of Stranger Things vibe, if you want to say, not necessarily in terms of the look of it, but just knowing that there's this underground world where it's so um cold and damp looking and dry, and it looks like a school, and people get this like creepy feeling out of school, and they are like monsters but they're humans. It's brilliantly done. Like I
Yeah,
totally agree with that.
and they're just mimicking like everyone upstairs, but just in the shadow form. So it's not real life. It's just mechanical.
Yeah, I think Wow, both fives. Impressive. I mean, I'm almost there. I'm really close. I'm a 4-5. I have to be not the quite perfect fives across the board. I think the music is exactly what it needs to be. All of the soundtrack choices are really good. The little horror movie, cliches are worked really well here. And then visually, it's really close. There's some shots, I'd say, in the first half that are it's supposed to be creepier and I don't quite feel it, or like maybe it's the way the shadowing is done, but it doesn't quite do it for me. But
Like
that's just
what?
well, I'm thinking like when the family first the bad family, the doppelganger family first invades the house. The way it's all done is done well enough, but the way I just don't feel as tense as I feel like I could be. I feel like I should be like, ready for this family to strike at any moment. And maybe I had too many preconceived notions of, they can't die here, so like nothing's gonna happen to them, or they're not.
Was it
kill
because it
anyone
was
off
not
this early.
raining like every other movie where it's just raining and that makes it creepy?
I don't know if rain would have exactly. It might have. It's fair. But
Every other scary movie, it's always raining.
It wasn't just those. Some of the in between scenes, the stuff that's not horror action is just kind of like some of the beach stuff where they're just talking, like it's fine, but as far as visually, it's it gets the job done. But there are I don't want to take away too much. I'm still giving it a 4-5. I mean, it's not a knock at all. This there's some really 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 effective shots, especially in the last, I'd say, 45 minutes of this movie, played with the music incredibly. And so we're at the end now. We can finally get into some of the spoiler stuff. It's basically a one-on-one kind of performance from here on out. Lupita Nyong'o returns to the
fun house.
The fun house, and in the fun house where she was taken as a child. In the fun house, there's a back door that leads to this underground facility that has like an escalator that runs only downward. I guess it's like some sort of trap for them. For the people who are held beneath. And this is where we learn some of the background of the Tethered. They were a government experiment to try to control the people above. So they're like clones who have to completely mimic the motions of the people above them. And we get flashbacks to little Lupita when they were in the carnival, and there's like these people who are pretending to be on a roller coaster in the underground, and they're basically standing in a hallway, like rolling around, like just kind of shaking, but not doing anything. And we see basically just exact parallels of what's happening as above, below. And but it's kept in like, it looks like a school, like a middle school hallway with these like little classrooms.
It's like an experiment headquarters.
It is, and they have like these cages everywhere.
Yeah.
But there's something that feels very a cross between like a prison and it feels like a school to me. Like they have desks.
Oh yeah, I agree. I felt that way too.
I don't know if it's for re-education purposes to try to like teach them things they wanted, but the point is that the project was abandoned, and when it was, all of these tethered human-ish people were just left under there to just wander and be tethered above, which brings up logistical problems, but I'll push past that because I really like the journey is that the movie's taking us. So Adeline finds her son Jason, who was taken by the doppelganger. He's locked in a locker. They let him out. She lets him out so she can go have her final confrontation with Red, and the two of them. And this is my favorite. It's maybe my favorite scene in the whole movie. It's so good. It's playing the theme music that's like an orchestral version of I've Got Five on It, which is from all the trailers, spliced with a ballet performance from when she was younger, and they're having like a fight, like a scissor versus like crowbar kind of fight in the like all across the downstairs, all across like this compound, this underground facility. And the way it's shot here, I mean, this is just, it's beautiful. It's really, really, really well done. I'm feeling it so much here. What did you guys think about this final confrontation?
No, I love that scene. And I like how the two, I guess, tools of weapons is the scissors and then like the ends of her handcuffs. So Lupita in human form can only really defend herself, and her shadow can only really jab at her.
Yeah,
That's a
no,
good way to put it. Yeah.
that's very good. And you learn in the beginning when she was abducted as a child that her parents were talking to a therapist, and the therapist says something like, "Why don't you find a way for her to express how she feels, maybe by dance?" And to bring that back in later in the movie and have this beautiful, intricate scene of her dancing, it truly shows what her mind is. Her through dance, and that's why it's this doppelganger of her shadow, as she was called at one point, and herself dancing through this like peril in their heads. Like it's so beyond anything I can think of, but just when you understand it, it's just amazing.
It's just so, it really is. It's probably like a 7 or 8 minute sequence. It's not, it's decently long for the money's worth, but it's not like everything from when they meet in the room and she's cutting the little people out to do the Hands Across America thing, like all the other doppelgangers are doing above ground right now. Like everything from that to, and the resolution is Adelaide kills Red. She kills her doppelganger self. It's the last doppelganger that's alive, and she kills her, and she gets out with get out. She gets out with the rest of her family. But oh my god, that scene! That's that 1 7-minute probably scene makes me want to go see it again, just to see that. It's really, really that good. But the family reunites above ground. They get in the ambulance that they found on the side of the road because the whole town's been destroyed. And they are driving away, and we get a flashback. We get a flashback to Adelaide the first night she was confronted by Red in the House of Mirrors when she was a little kid. And it's revealed right here, and I kind of suspected it early on, but Red is the one who has been living above ground this whole time. The doppelganger
it was a parent trap.
all these years ago. We see a little flashback of her. It was a parent trap, right? Dennis, yeah, we'll get to that in a few months. You'll know what we mean in a few months. If you're a listener, you'll know what we mean. But her doppelganger self, we see a little flashback, like knocks her out, handcuffs her to bed, leaves her with her Hands Across America t-shirt, puts on the t-shirt we see her wearing in the beginning, and the doppelganger leaves, and all the flashbacks are making sense where the parents think she has PTSD, and that's why she's not talking. She's not talking because she had PTSD. She was not talking because tethered don't speak, and she had to learn how to. And there's a reason Lupita Nyong'o's tethered is the only one who can speak or does speak in the movie is because she was once above ground. And if you didn't see this twist coming, I feel like this would be your favorite movie of all time, and it would blow your mind, and you would cry and explode. But I saw it coming about a third in, clearly. I don't know. What did you guys see it coming?
Not necessarily. I loved the part where I saw in the little clip of them watching the news, when I saw the people holding hands, I'm like, when that Hands Across America thing clicked in my head, I was so excited about that. It was such a small detail.
That really early on.
If you weren't paying attention to the beginning, oh, thank you.
Yeah, no, you nailed that one.
In the beginning and watching that little clip of her watching TV in the 80s with the Hands Across America, that's a very small thing that could slip, but that turns out to be what the biggest role of why these people acted this way at the end. It was great.
That is a clever way to have them. This is what they think they can do to like escape their oppression is, oh, this Hands Across America t-shirt, this one commercial, like all of these tethered people have been trading, and it was fucking 1986. Like, of course no one knows what Hands Across America is, 30 years later, but like they've all been like almost worshiping this idea as like the means to their liberation, and it's comes to fruition, and it's actually pretty creepy how they all just and we see it at the end. They stand across. That's the final scene of the movie is we have like U.S. helicopters flying overhead over like this mountain range, and there's just red jumpsuits lined up all across America, like as if this underground cavern stretched across hundreds
They're
of
liberated
thousands of
now.
miles.
They're
Yeah,
out,
now they're
Yeah.
all out and standing and holding hands
And clearly they won because
together.
everyone was dead. So they did their job.
I think, yeah, this made me think, did they kill not just the beach, but like fucking most of America? Like, I mean, there's helicopters flying overhead indicating that some people survived, but like, did they kill like more than just Santa Cruz? Like, did they take out everybody? But
Yeah, because even in the news, you saw the guy was filming it on his phone, and then he just died when one of his shadows just came and stabbed him.
yeah, I guess that's what happened. It's kind of a
It's
crazy.
Purge. I'm telling you, this is the purge.
You can only assume that everybody was killed as soon as their doppelganger came out. That's the assumption you can make, I guess.
It's a really big ending, and I'm gonna go ahead and say it right now. I don't quite like that. It's what keeps this from being an excellent movie to me is that I don't. It's fine. Like, the one tethered to escape is this one girl, the chosen one. I'm okay with that because movies have to have a chosen one. I'm not going to knock it for that because movies, that's how it is. And that they all had to wrap this manifesto around escaping and holding hands across America because that's what the shirt said. Okay, stretch, but I'll even go with that. The fact that they all escaped and all killed them all, like, pretty much, we can assume to a big percentage. And then they just did it. They just held hands and like across mountain ranges and across like all this terrain. Like,
I think that
it seems
don't like-
Go ahead.
So like when the bad guy wins.
Yeah, he had to make the decision.
I like when the bad
making
guy
this-
wins. I like when the bad guy wins and it makes sense. I guess this is it's a leap too far for me. There's a lot of plot hole kind of
I
things
mean, the
that
whole
go
fucking
on,
thing
but
is a leap, Brennan. Like, it's the whole movie. So
my name?
I think
Jesus.
he had to make a decision of how this movie was going to end, and the most effective way was to show the hands across America. It's how he started the movie. That's how he was ending the movie. I see no problem with that.
I would have been fine if. Here's how I would have preferred it. If this was an isolated incident in Santa Cruz, they came and arrested all of them, and none of them fought, and they just kind of went along with it, like, the zombie kind of people they were, because their leader had been killed or whatever. And then we get the Lupita Nyong'o reveal that she's really the leader, and that maybe and then we get cuts to the other tethered, and like maybe there's some bigger plan that she has had all along. I would have preferred something like that, where it's like a more open-ended, oh, this was just phase one. But the fact that they just all escaped, killed everybody, now they're just standing across America holding hands, and that was their goal all along. I understand the symbolism of it, but it just it lands a little weak when the movie was so strong.
That didn't bother me too much. I didn't really think of it that way.
I like the symbolism.
All right, yeah, that's a complaint of mine, but clearly, it's not the majority of this show. That's fine.
Yeah, I really didn't think of it as anything that was a downturn of it. I was like, oh, bad guy wins. Cool.
I usually like bad guy winning, typically, or at least anti-hero winning, or something that is subversive. And I'll say that this ending is definitely subversive. It's just it doesn't feel fully earned for me, but it clearly, it wasn't a problem for you guys, and that's probably a lot of other people as well. So overall feel and resonance, Jess, what do you give as an overall feel and resonance for us?
I gave it a 4. I was truly engaged the whole time. I liked it a lot, and again, I think it's because of the characters. I like how the characters' shadows are basically themselves. So if you want to outwit your shadow, you have to really think, like, what would you do, or how would you act to it? And I think it's what Jason did. So I like how there is, like, a conflict, yet it's still kind of similar between the two. And I think that hit hard. And again, like I said earlier, the characters, you don't hate them. You actually admire what they would do, despite any other scary movie that you'd watch.
What did you think? Yeah, I mean, that's a good way to put it. What did you think, Nicole?
I gave this a 4 as well for this category.
Identical reviews, you guys.
Yeah, great minds. I totally felt the anxiety throughout this movie. I have like a personal complaint, of course, about the movie theater I was in. I thought that the audience totally. This
girl sitting next to me just kept talking the whole movie.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the popcorn.
Oh no! Our theater didn't have popcorn, so that was already a strike one. But the people in the audience at this movie really brought it down for me at some points because I was feeling intense as fuck, okay? And then people are laughing. And if this movie was supposed to be more humorous than what I'm seeing, then I apologize because I'm not getting it. But people were laughing at the most immature parts, and it distracted me so bad.
It was
But
uncomfortable laughter, you know.
on that note, I can totally see past that and see what this movie actually meant, and the message I got from it brought it right back up to a 4. I thought it was really good.
Nice. Yeah, no, I actually give this a 4.5. It's a little bit higher. I think this is better than the sum of its parts. I think this is a movie that, because of the script and the characters and the way they're written, tied with the plot they're in. I mean, I've had my minor complaints about it, but overall, it's a really strong movie, and I think it's better than any one individual part by itself. I think the strengths of this movie, the really strong parts, outweigh any of the weak parts, and I think it's stronger together. As there's some movies where you're like, oh, I love those 2 scenes, but the rest of the movie sucks, or it's a movie you're like, yeah, it's a good movie, but nothing really stood out. This is a good balance of that, where there's some really strong parts, but nothing's overly weak to the point where you're bored. It carries through the whole time, and the strong moments are extremely strong. So a 4.5 is what I give this. And that brings us pretty much to the end. Before we give our final recommendations, there's one theory out there floating that we have not addressed across. There's several theories. There's millions.
Oh, I've been keeping my theories till the end.
There's a ton of theories.
You said keep theories till the end, so let's see.
All right, so we're at the end. Nicole, what are some of your theories that you've either heard or would like to discuss?
Okay. This whole underground fortress that all these people are in that are mimicking the live people above. Maybe to me, this is like a hell underground type of thing. Another favorite scene of mine is when she's standing and looking at this escalator. It's huge, mimicking the gates, the gates to heaven type of thing. It's only coming downward. She can't escape up to real life or can't escape up to heaven. She's down, stuck in this underground
that's a good
hell.
Point.
Hell of people that can't stop living somebody else's life. They have no mind of their own. They're the people, like you said, the people that were mimicking the roller coaster. They're going around in circles their whole life. Like
it's a hellish existence. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. I also liked when they're down in that bunker. It looks like there's these rabbits all over the place, and it's really creepy. And to me, it just signifies the clone, how rabbits reproduce so rapidly and people reproduce so rapidly,
and they're soulless. Rabbits are soulless.
Maybe the rabbits are the souls of the people that were down there.
That'd be advanced.
But well, I don't put it past Jordan Peele to do this because this movie was pretty intense. But yeah, I totally see that scene as a hell scene.
You guys got to see Get Out because I'll get to my recommendation at the end, but if you like this, you're going to like Get Out. It's not the same story, but it's done similarly and told, I think, almost as well, if not better. But Jess, did you have any weird theories or crazy theories or completely founded theories about the end of this movie or anything else?
No, I did. It's more of not like a theory, but a theme. I definitely noticed a theme of color in the movie. When Lupita's shadow was talking, I wish I can read this transcript so I'm not distracted by her spookiness, but she explained the white rabbits, and when you see the rabbits downstairs, all of them are white, and then there was one black one. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but in the cages there's one black rabbit and a few brown rabbits, and the rest were white. Mm-hmm. So I haven't really thought out truly what that meant, but it's something significant.
That's the displacement of colored people in America, Jess.
Oh my gosh.
No, I have no idea. That could be it. All right.
And then there's also the theme of the red coats. That I think it ties back to when Lupita was a little girl, and I distinctly remember her carrying that huge red lollipop, and she was
candy apple, yes.
Oh, the candy apple, but it was very red, and she was walking towards the mirror house, and I feel like that was her being introduced to the red coat family down there, the shadows,
the tethered.
The tethered, whatever their names are. So I feel like
that's really good observation.
The theme I saw was colors.
So I guess I mean, I think those are both those are good like motifs that go throughout. And then following on the jumpsuit thing, it feels like to me this is some sort of I got out of it, and it's not a theme I particularly love, but it's an okay one. The commentary of like the haves and the have-nots, or like like a prison system. See, these people are all literally imprisoned. They're told what to do every day, and they have no control over their lives. They all wear jumpsuits, kind of like a prisoner would. They don't really have a lot of culture or education. They're, just grunting beings that go about doing what they do for nothing and no one. They just kind of exist. And they are all at the behest of the haves, who get to live their life fully. And this is, and this will lead into a theory that I didn't think of, but I read, and it's the most prominent one. Some people are saying that the young kid, at some point, whether it was the summer prior or when they were younger, switched places with his doppelganger, and that he is also a doppelganger by the end of the film.
Oh.
Given people point to the smile that Lupita Nyong'o gives to him, and he gives kind of a smirk and then puts his mask on. There's other points in the movie where they say things like, oh, like he couldn't remember his magic trick from the summer prior. Maybe they switched. Or he's the only one who knew how to defeat his doppelganger without crazy violence. He used his tethered power to walk backwards and burn the other one. Just a lot of little things like that pointed out. And I think we said in the beginning, of the four, other than the Lupita Nyong'o's character, he was probably the most connected to his tethered. Which what do you guys think about that theory?
I didn't think about that, but it makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. I'm curious as to why the doppelganger's face was burned.
I have a theory about that. You want to hear my theory? And I didn't read this anyway. This is what I thought of
with the
towards
fire
the end of the
at
movie.
the very end.
No. So the whole movie. So as this theory that I just said, I don't really quite believe it. I don't think he switched at any point. I think the mask thing at the end was more of, I'll keep quiet because I don't want to deal with all this shit. I think it was a little simpler than that. I honestly do. I don't think it was some nefarious, like, step one complete. Like, I think it was more like
he's fucking dumbfounded of what just happened.
He's the only one who understands. The sister's
Yeah,
listening to her fucking music, and the dad is singing another rap song on the radio that no one's listened to for 30 years. So, like, they're completely oblivious. He's the only one who understands. But I think, how he's playing with his lighter all the time. He did his magic trick before. I think every time he's lighting his lighter like really close to his face, but it's not going. In the tethered world, it is lighting, and he's just constantly burning the face of his tethered.
Oh my gosh.
That is a really good idea.
I think that's what's happening, because the whole movie, and like last summer too, he's doing the trick and he's holding it right up to his face and it's not lighting, and he keeps doing it and he's like holding it. I think he's constantly burning the face of his tethered underground, and that's why his face is all fucked up.
I think
that
you're
kinda
right.
drags into my theory of the hellish portion of this. This kid can't get away from this flame. If this theory plays really well into this, he can't get away from this flame burning him constantly, but he has no control over it. All these people are controlled by what's happening. And another thing that kind of drives me to have this theory about hell is we see the doppelganger for the dad's name is Abraham, which is a biblical name.
Mm-hmm.
And the homeless dude with the sign, what does his sign say?
It's 11:11, but I don't remember what it says. But the number is 11:11. Maybe
maybe it's Jeremiah, something along those lines.
I'm sure it has a significance, but that's
all got a biblical
that's a gap in
theme to
our knowledge here. I don't quite remember what that. I remember it was 11:11, and I know it had a name like whatever, Ezekiel 25:17.
Yeah,
like it's something like that. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I unfortunately I can't remember the name right now, but I don't think that particularly matters in what we are saying. But it's definitely got that biblical theme throughout for me, just lurking.
Yeah, and I think so. We've covered a lot of the theories. We've gone through the movie pretty heavily, and we could probably go on for a real long time. This is a very discussion-provoking movie. But let's just give our overall recommendations. Nicole, would you recommend Us?
Definitely. I definitely would. Regardless of if you've seen his first performance or not, or excuse me, his first movie that he's produced.
He directed
I think
and
this
wrote
was directed. Thank you.
and
Really
produced.
standalone. Really a cool movie. It's modern. It's edgy. It's a different type of horror. Um, and it really puts into perspective how you feel about yourself. I felt like just watching someone else's soul like being destroyed in this scene. Like it was really intense. It really was a good movie. I would totally recommend it.
Yeah, and what did you think, Jess?
Yeah, I think the same. I would recommend it too. I like how you are always on your toes, and I love movies how you can always think of theories or themes going around. So, like you said, we could probably end up talking about it for hours and just go with a group of friends and say what you think about it. And you're probably right. You can't be wrong. So it has a lot of open-ended discussion, and it's just really fun to watch.
Yeah, and I'm definitely on board with you guys here. It's a recommend for me too, a strong recommend, maybe our strongest recommend since we've started the show for me.
I think so.
Um, it's and I'm the only other one who's seen Get Out here. I've been a Jordan Peele fan since I was fucking middle school kid. Like I watched all his stupid comedy shit on Mad TV. I always thought he was more talented than Keegan Michael Key, but and I'm really glad he's doing well, and I think he's got so many more movies in him. I can't wait to see the new Twilight Zones. I've seen, and I'm the only one who's seen Get Out of the three of us. I think Get Out is a tighter, better structured movie as far as everything makes more sense and is tighter, and the plot's really, really strong, and the execution's really well done. Having said all that, I had more fun with this movie. I liked this movie more. The other one I could admit I think is a better technical movie, but this one is more fun for me. I really, really like this movie a lot, and I cannot wait for everything he has to make. I can't wait to review more of his movies because and all of his movies make money. They're made cheap. They make massive at the box office for what they cost, so he's going to keep making them, and I'm really excited about that.
For the first one, he had to put the stamp on what his style was, so he had to make it a little more refined for people to get into, but people know him for his directing now, so he could have a little fun with this one. I think he really did that.
Yeah, I think he'll probably get a bigger budget in the future. I mean, this one was $20 million, nothing to laugh at, but if I would love to see what he could do with a big horror movie, and I think he would make it really original and interesting and fun. And I'll see everything he does until he fucks up a lot. But for now,
you'll still see.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give him plenty of chances. I've liked him for over half my life now. I'm just really glad he's doing well, and that he's making really effective, good, strong movies that they're horror, but they're funny too. They're not overly
everything right with it.
Yeah, they're not relying on the pop-up scares. Like, they have legitimate, creepy horror things in there. It's just a really well-made movie. So if you haven't seen it and you for some reason listen to this entirely spoiling review of it first, thank you for listening, but also go see us because it's really good. Jess, do you have anything else to add before we wrap up?
Maybe go with a friend if you are very scared of movies. I wouldn't see this by yourself.
What do you think, Nicole?
Yeah, I have to agree with that. It was a little spooky, but at the same time, if you go by yourself, you've got plenty of time to reflect on your own life afterwards. So it's good either way.
That was our review of Us. Coming down the pike, we have a few more reviews coming up. I think next week, first week of April, we're going to do some streaming reviews. People really like the Triple Frontier reviews, so we're going to do some more streaming reviews that are available to people who have Netflix, Amazon Prime.
I think we need suggestions too.
Yeah, if you guys have any suggestions, please let us know. Comment on our Facebook page, Films with the Women in My Life. We have a Twitter at FilmsWomenPod. Our website's always available, filmswiththewomen.libsyn.com. If you know any of us personally, reach out. And Instagram. We don't have an Instagram officially, but you can reach out to any one of us. I'm Brennan Snyder, Jessica Monroe Khan, and Nicole. Nicole doesn't have a Instagram, does she?
No,
she's not on their social media game. But you reach out to Jess or I. We're both on all the social medias. if there's something you want to see. Coming down the pike, I think in 2 weeks we'll have Pet Sematary as far as theatrical releases. But other than that, I think we're going to try to do some more streaming stuff, and we'll let you guys know in the coming weeks on social media. So check us out there. Anything else before we wrap up?
No, thanks for having us.
Thank you, Nicole. Jess?
Thank you.
Thank you. And until next time, everyone, this is Brennan saying, enjoy your movies.
Thanks for listening to Films with the Women in My Life. If you enjoyed being a listener in our life, subscribe to us on iTunes. Please leave a review as it helps more people find the show. Like us on Facebook at Films with the Women in My Life, follow us on Twitter at FilmsWomenPod, and check out our website, filmswiththewomen.libsyn.com. That's filmswiththewomen.libsyn.com. Original music for the show was created by Ian Burke. Original artwork created by Nicole D'Alessio. This show is produced by Brennan Snyder. Thank you again for listening and enjoy your movies.